Leo is a fire sign, a fixed fire sign, the fixed fire sign, and its emblem is the lion, and its ruling planet is the sun. It's a very strong image. It's the ruler, isn't it, the lion, and the sun is the ruler of our solar system. And this idea of sovereignty and kingship goes along with the feeling that Leo has of self-confidence. And this is the first expression that we're studying in its 5 Sabian degrees. And yet the first degree of Leo is about apoplexy. Apoplexy. The idea of the fiery life force, this solar energy, the sun, is actually too much. We need to be very careful how we handle this degree of energy. And fixed signs tend not to be very careful about moderation. They do like to deepen their experience and hold on to it to the nth degree until you've finally squeezed every drop of every situation. All of the fixed signs are like that in their different ways. And here we have Leo, whose fixed sign is fiery. So there is this real risk of being overdone, taking on too much. And the fiery life force has to be moderated. This is the first degree of Leo, the first warning almost, like you're given this amazing energy, be careful with it. The second degree is a case of mumps, and this indicates the charismatic spread of energy. Leo is very charismatic indeed. Self-confidence gives you charisma anyway. And with Leo, they enjoy that thoroughly. And it kind of emanates and it spreads. The image of mumps isn't really to do with the disease quality of mumps. It's to do with the spreading quality. People catch it. And they catch the enthusiasm and self-confidence of Leo, this fiery sense of I am, I can, that Leo has better than others. The third degree is this idea of a woman having her hair bobbed. Fashions change, and someone has to be first. And it's very often the case that Leo has that confidence to do something that other people haven't been able to do yet. We don't have to conform to fashion if we have the confidence to do it our way. And sometimes we get to be the first to do something that becomes a fashion. Now in the fourth, the man dressed as a deer with his horns and everything, you have the image of a proud man with a deer and his horns on the wall, a trophy. And we do put up our trophies, our certificates and our cups and our pats on the head from society. And if you indulge that too much, it wouldn't be productive. But just to notice that you are getting along, you're moving forward, it's very validating to develop this sense of, I can, and here's the proof. That ability we have to achieve. And this promotes self-confidence. And it actually also comes from self-confidence. It's a mutually serving relationship. And the fifth point, you have the rock formations at the edge of the precipice. Now these have been there for a long time. And we have here a distinction between the woman having her hair bobbed, which is a fashion that comes and goes. Here, this doesn't come and go. This is long term. And so we understand that the life force that we have, which is amazing, spreads, and so we become somewhat influential. And we set the trend sometimes. And this fifth degree is saying, well, look, just look at the long term. What will happen if you do this in the long term? take account of that you have, because of the self-confidence, influence that can have an effect and last. So we're sort of told really in Leo 5 that there are different scales of time, and the long-term scale of time puts a different interpretation on events, very different interpretation. Most of us don't really think that through. We concentrate on the moment in hand, how we feel now, what we can do to change this feeling to be happier. But will that lead to happiness in the longer term, 10 years, 100 years, 1,000 years? That's rock formation time, hundreds of thousands of years, you know. Are we actually serving on that level, on that geological level? So that's the first expression of Leo, self-confidence. Now, in the second expression, which is impact, we begin with the Leo 8, the old-fashioned woman and an up-to-date girl. And again, we see this this indication that things change. Not only fashion, but also values in this case. The old woman lived her life according to a set of moral principles, values, goals and ambitions and requirements of society that now are actually irrelevant to the young girl. All of those things have changed so much that it's like living a different way, a totally different way, yeah. Now in Leo 6 we look at the in Leo 7 we look at the constellations in the sky, giving the reverse principle. Very often the second degree of a batch of 5 in the expression contrasts the first. And here we have the constellations in the sky. These don't change. These were the same as they are now for a very long time. And this sense of impact that we're discussing, on the one hand, the impact of fast-movingness. You know, we have to keep up to date to make an impact on the current times because they change. But on the other level, rather like the rock formations, the constellations of the sky gives us this sense of overview. Look at the longer term. What's our long-term impact here? Leo 8 is the Bolshevik, the propagandist who's trying to break down society because it's rotten. It needs to change. Now, this isn't new. This has been the case since the beginning of history, that there is always the force of entropy in any system. And in this case, the individuals, the Bolsheviks themselves, represent that force of entropy. And the constellations in the sky represents permanence, but here we have another statement of impermanence. So we've got 3 indicators so far of our need to notice that times change. Sometimes they change quickly, sometimes they change slowly. And the impact we have needs to be measured against those changes. We come to find in Leo 9 how to make these changes impactful. And the glass blowers represents the simple presence of beauty in a situation. Beauty, for all its nature of being ephemeral, is very impactful indeed. And the glass blowers can take fire and air and sand and create something very beautiful indeed from those 3 things, because they know how. And here we have Leo's ability to take a situation as it is and move it into something else, something which has charm and beauty. And Leo 10 underlines this point with the idea of metamorphosis, the early morning dew. It's something that happens every day, the early morning, and there's dew every day, and still it's fascinating, it's wonderful, it's full of wonder. And this changes something ordinary into something special through the process of attention and perception and seeing things differently. And we come to understand that the impact that we have on the world is very much to do with our ability to make people perceive it differently to how they did before. Metamorphosis, the change of something, comes from the changing of our minds through perception, the different ways that we have of perceiving things. Now, of course, we know that Leo is enthusiastic, and we come to the third expression, enthusiasm, beginning with Leo 11, the children on a swing on a huge oak tree. They're just playing joyfully. And this ability for Leo to remember its childlike enthusiasm for life is underlined here. I lived with a Leo for quite some time, and I noticed that whatever he did, everything he did was done enthusiastically. There was no exceptions to this. He couldn't do the necessary in a grim, determined way. It would always be with enthusiasm. He couldn't do it. A real feature of Leo, enthusiasm. Leo 12, an evening lawn party, is where that enthusiasm for social involvement is present. And a party is something that raises the energy. And the lawn party is rather more civilized and structured in terms of what behavior is permitted and what is not. The 13th degree of Leo is the old sea captain rocking, and he's lived enthusiastically and now is just going over all of that again, mulling over all of the adventures and the good times with almost like a return to enthusiasm, just reliving it again, feeling the echo of the first behaviors. You're getting more out of it. Now, the 14th degree of Leo is the human soul awaiting opportunity for expression. And here we have the kind of elevated sense of where enthusiasm can take us. Enthusiasm means allowing God to flow through us. It's a soul quality. And here we have that the soul is able to enter our beingness when we vibrate enthusiasm. This is quite a deep mystery if you think about it. If you express enthusiasm, you open up to soul consciousness. That's quite a secret, isn't it? And Leo 15, the pageant, is a way of the community expressing enthusiasm collectively, living out the drama of life and making it more dramatic. You dress it all up in colours and clothes, and you parade in front of people, and this pageant is the energy that Leo loves, showing who they are, and that life is good, is good fun, reminding people who have forgotten that. There's a lot of people that find life hard, a struggle, a drudge, and Leo is saying to them, no, it's fun, be enthusiastic, and you'll get the soul involved. And the pageant is an extreme statement of that, really. In Leo 16, we come across the next expression, which is nobility, and it begins with the sunrise after the storm. We do have difficulties in life, sure. It's the nature of rhythm to have difficulties and then have solutions and so on. There's always a sunrise, always. The dark night is always followed by a morning. The storm always comes to an end. And to remember that not only settles you, but it starts to develop this sense of dignity of being. You don't accept defeat, knowing that success is on its way. And that brings about the dignity that underpins nobility. Now in Leo 17, the non-vested church choir, they're singing the praises that they feel, not necessarily for religious expression. It's a non-vested choir, they're ordinary people. They're not wearing the uniform of the church. And they're just taking the opportunity to sing together and express this enthusiasm they have for life with a noble purpose, the purpose of raising sacredness in the community. And that quality of appreciating the ability that we have to transform ordinariness into sacredness is something that can be taught. And this is the job of the chemistry teacher in Leo 18. A chemist is somebody who takes bits and pieces of elements of this, that, and the other and transforms it into something else. And that's a noble occupation, to take something which is grey and lifeless and not what we want, and just do the magical formula and make it exactly what we want. So that's Leo 18. Now Leo 19 is the houseboat party, and whereas before in the lawn party we were enthusiastically expressing ourselves within the bounds of what was okay, a houseboat party goes well beyond limits. It's not tied to the shore, it's afloat on water, so it's much more emotionally expressive. Ups and downs are much more likely. There's no policing going on. People are going to be a lot more wild. So this represents that principle of going a bit wild, and the nobility, they did that. They were very self-expressive. And this brings us to Leo 20, where that fullness of the self-expression at a high level is taken up to the highest level of devotion. And the Zuni Sun worshippers, they worship the sun, and Leo's sign is the sun, and life is given to us by the sun. And it's good to remember that and to defer to that, to express that devotionally. And this is the right thing to do. This is the noble behavior. Now, the fifth expression of Leo is straightforwardness. And this begins in Leo 21 with the intoxicated chickens. There is a process of awakening spiritually that we're discussing here. And the chickens running around without knowing what they're doing, they shouldn't be drunk. You know, they don't do well on drink. Nobody does, really. So they just get confused, the chickens here. And we can get confused. There's a lot of nonsense talk about spiritual wisdom. And the only reason we buy into that nonsense is the lack of straightforwardness. If when somebody tells us something and it seems unlikely, unreasonable, and we challenge it, then we can work out whether or not we think it is unreasonable, whether it needs to be challenged and accepted or rejected. And that confusion is a part of the process of awakening. If you're confused about something, that's better than being certain about a wrong thing. So to go through the process of not knowing is actually a stepping stone towards awakening. And a lot of people won't enjoy that they don't know something. This is a bit of a challenge for Leo to get, but when they actually really affirm their straightforwardness, if they don't understand something, they'll speak up. That's moving towards a greater wisdom. The carrier pigeon image in Leo 22 is about the ability then we have to become clear. On the one hand, spiritual confusion, because we're focusing actually on the wrong understandings. And then on the other hand, the carrier pigeon is saying, this is actually the message. You know, this is the spiritual message that you're looking for. And in Leo 23, the bareback rider represents the principle of audacity. You got to try something which is, on the face of it, difficult and a bit uncivilized. Bareback riders aren't using saddles, and they're usually associated with horses that are a little bit more adventurous. It's a challenge, it's a risk. It takes a certain amount of audacity to move forward to that higher level of being. Now in Leo 24, the untidy, unkempt man is not concerned with his appearance. He's concerned with just doing it the way he likes doing it, whether or not society approves. It goes one step further than the audacity. The audacity is, you want me to do this, I'm not going to. But in this 24th degree, the man isn't interested in what you want or don't want. It's just, I can't be bothered, I don't care. I'm just doing it, I'm free of that. And this was what happens when you become straightforward in your life. You move towards freedom. Why would you bend and shape yourself according to somebody else's sense of what's right when you know what's right for yourself anyway? So that's Leo 24. In Leo 25, the large camel crossing the desert goes one further with this one. The camel is able to be very self-sustaining for a very long time. Unlike most animals on the planet, the camel can survive without water for a very long period of time indeed. And this self-sufficiency is the reward we get for doing it the way we like to do it, not being too concerned with what society expects of us. Now in the 6th expression of Leo we have optimism, expecting things to turn out well. The 26th degree of Leo is the rainbow, and this lifts us up, doesn't it? We see that the storm has ended because there's a rainbow now often, and it promises a pot of gold. We've got this mythology going on where a rainbow is very special indeed, and it's the promise of success. And in Leo 27, the daybreak image, the light of a new dawn, takes that one step further. It's real. Here's a new day. Not only did we promise that there would be light after the darkness, but it's delivered. We have our new day. And with a new day, you have new opportunity. You can repair whatever mistakes you made and get it right this time. Leo 28, many little birds on the limb of a large tree. There are many opportunities in this new day, many opportunities. And we can't have all of them. We have to consider what our opportunities are and then go for the one which actually we want the most. That sounds so obvious to a Leo because they're optimistic. Of course they'd go for what they want, but it is not a strategy that all of the other signs adopt. Leo wants what it wants. It's strong in its desire nature, and if there's an opportunity to grasp it, it will grasp it. And this secret of life is not much understood by the other signs. Leo 29, the mermaid, represents the principle of coming out of the ocean, the mermaid, doesn't it, onto land. She wants to be manifested. Unconscious urges of Leo want to be manifested. They're creative, very creative people, Leos. And this principle of creativity itself is the essence of optimism. Optimism requires us to look at the bright side where there is shadow, look for the silver lining, turn things into a higher expression. And that's what creativity is. Creativity is saying, no, I want it this way. It's never been done before, but the way I do it is this way. And that's the essence of the mermaid's secret. She wants to make manifest in real terms everything that she can feel and imagine. The unsealed letter image in Leo 30 indicates that we can't hide anything. There's no point in sealing a letter. There's no point in closing yourself off to the world. It doesn't work. Every secret eventually comes out. So why not just get it out there anyway? Why close it off? You know, have faith that all of your feelings, all of your thoughts, all of your behaviors can be expressed into the world optimistically, knowing that it will all be fine, and therefore you don't need to keep secrets. Very open expression of all these positive qualities of Leo, the self-confidence, the nobility, the optimism. They all speak to this very positive sense of living life as if it's fun and if we're gonna win.